tika. Talking about tika and with regards to, the nanny that sits on the whāriki, the nana on the whāriki. It's like the nana waiting for the bus to go to the Poukai. It's like the nana waiting, at the door to put her koha into the kit that's at the Poukai. It's the nana that's sitting on a whāriki that's going to sit there for hours and hours. And today, with the schedule of the Poukai today, it's time. You arrive there, you're on the marae at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock, there's lunch, 2 o'clock, we will go home. And so, once upon a time, not too far away, just only recently, actually, in the last, one would say, last year's of Te Arikinui, Te Tairani Kau's rain, that nanny sat on a whāriki from 10 o'clock right to 4 o'clock. Sat there, rain, hail, snow. But it was always something put there to protect that nana from getting cold, getting wet. But let me tell you that when they sit at the foot of the ariki, they're sitting on bare concrete. And no, they don't have anything to sit on. They sit there and they will themselves to endure that pain, that cold and everything else. And you see this nana of current. She's so skinny, she's so small. And yet, the wairua keeps her strong. And that's the belief that our people have. They're practitioners of that belief. Because what else have you got? You got nothing else. You only got a little blanket, and you think about that. Can you endure sitting there for 6 hours with a little blanket and cold coming at you? And yet, it's a role that they commit themselves to upholding. We think about that tika. As everybody else, you go there to the Poukai. What is your tika? What is your role? What do you do? How do you implement your role that you identified to benefit everybody else? Is the role just about yourself? Is it about you and nobody else? So you think about that. Think about the roles of responsibility and how do you implement that role? What do you do? How do you make that role effective? Not just for you, but for everybody else around you. Here's one of the roles. Do you take it on board that when you're sitting down, after you've gone to the marae, you're all invited to sit down? That's the whakatau. You sit down. Excuse me. And then what comes past? As soon as you sit down, your mouth is way you go. You have your own private hui. And you try and comprehend this, that if you've got 800 people sitting under a marquee and everybody's whispering, you know what this sounds like? It sounds like a herd of buffaloes running across the paddock. Because everybody in the front, we're all quiet and we can hear everything that you're talking about at the back. And that whisper, you think that whisper is you're being discreet. Like I said, if 800 people were to whisper all at once in the same space, sounds like a herd of cows, buffaloes, horses running through the paddock. It's not nice. It isn't. So we think about those nannies sitting on a whāriki. And they sit there. They don't talk to anybody else. I do remember when our king was here with us, that he'd have a chat with the nanny sitting on the floor. But the nanny was always mindful of the fact that her role was predominantly priority. At the same time, talking to the king and observing that silence, that role in silence, is that the person's wairua is split both ways. One way to respect the conversation. The other one is to respect the role, our role and responsibilities. So, you're put in a quandary. How do you effect your role if you're being well, you know, coerced into a conversation, and you don't know how to get out of it because the person that's holding the conversation with you happens to be the ariki. So, but it's in the skill of the role is how you manipulate that role to safeguard that person that you're there for. How do you do that? Like whai kōrero, okay? Whai kōrero, when the person stands up to whai kōrero, and there are the men. They're busy chatting away there on the front row. So where's the respect? Where's the respect? Do you expect them to talk when you stand up and actually, to carry out the role of responsibility that you've been given? Do you expect those people to talk? No, you don't. You expect them to be quiet, because by hearing somebody else's conversation when you're speaking, it actually distracts your thinking. And you're responsible for that, because you can't shut up, You got to talk. You got to laugh. And what you're doing, you're actually obstructing the way you are of somebody, of that person. It's not a good thing. It isn't. It's like a karanga. When you karanga, you're in a trance. You're supposed to be in a trance, because all your words, they come out of your head. They're only there for a moment. That's all it is. And yet, a lot of our women, they karanga, they say the same thing, the same thing, the same thing. They never digress. They never diversify. They're always saying the same thing over and over and over again. Hoa. And, the beauty about karanga, the beauty about it, you actually can create a landscape in your karanga when you do it. You hear the birds trilling. Waiatana manu. Well, if you're clever, you can pick up that sound, and you can pick it up, and you can actually emanate that, or ki te whakarere atu I te ahu o te tangi o ngā manu I roti I tō karanga. Ne? You're smart enough, you can do it. So these are the things, is that when you carry a role, you got to be able to implement a role in the best way possible. Create a landscape of imagery. And when you do that, you find that people say, gee, that's beautiful, eh? Now let's go back to those birds that was in that lady's bag at Taura. Ne? She was inspired by taking her manu for an experience. She believed that her manu weren't going to cause any distraction, that her manu, unlike all those other people that's talking in their private little hui, this woman had her birds in her kit or in her bag, so I was told. And it come to pass that, the one next to her heard these things chirping, and I'm sure that person thought it was the birds in the tree, but it was too close. That was all right. So when the observer realized the birds were sitting right next to her, she was intrigued, but at the same time she was cautioning that woman, be careful, Aunty Mamae, don't hear those. Nah, I'd rather listen to the birds than listen to a blooming woman chatting away, having their own blooming hui. Nah, tell you. And when I heard about it, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the story. If we talk about wairuatanga, now, I was told this, and very close to my heart, this person that told me. Anyway, he went on a long haul wakaama, a race. Had the wrong waka, and the waka was too small. His legs were becoming cramped. So he lost. He didn't participate in the race because he wasn't comfortable and he couldn't. With the cramp and everything else, it was impacting on his body. What he would do is that he'd fall out of the waka and exercise his leg in the sea and exercise and then get back into the waka, paddle again, and then do the same, keep repeating over and over and over again. But he was getting tired. And he was miles away from everybody else, and he was just a loner in his waka. Anyway, as he sat in the waka, he was exhausted, probably thinking, will I make it to the end of the line? Then he spied this bumblebee sitting at the ihu of the waka, sitting there. The bumblebee had flown thousands of miles, and it had grown tired. So he looked at this bumblebee and he compared the bumblebee to himself. He was exhausted, he was sore, he was tired, and there was nobody around. The same predicament as the bumblebee was in. But the bumblebee took refuge and honed in on his waka and sat there and had a rest. When you compare the weight of that person, that man, and that bumblebee, they were equal in the same. They were both tired, exhausted, sore, couldn't do any more, and wait to see what fate would bring them. Fortunately, he was able to get back to shore. He took his waka out of the water, and he parked his waka up on the shore. He watched the bumblebee. Then the bumblebee eventually flew. He regained his strength and he flew away, probably to die, or to go and to be able to nest on some flower or some, just to recuperate himself. But the paddler and the bumblebee, they had the same history, they had the same story. They were exhausted. They wondered, would they see another day tomorrow? When they made land, and then the paddler looked, and he watched the bumblebee fly away. How many of you got a story like that? Hey? How many of you would have observed that bumblebee was also begging for support too? How many? When you think about that, are we only just caring about ourselves rather than God's creations? Albeit a bumblebee or a bird in a kit or a man with a paddle that was getting constant cramp, could have drowned. A brilliant story. The paddler and the bumblebee. And yeah, you might be thinking about, oh, yeah, that sounds funny. No, it's not funny. Not funny at all. That's a way of life. Something so small and yet gives back so much. Without bumblebees, this earth wouldn't be what it is. We wouldn't be here. So it goes both ways. Your roles and your responsibility. Not only to just to each other, but to the landscape, to the environment. Beyond that, what gives? So when we think about this, we think about the whole idea around tika, to ward off the evil spirit. That's the role of that nana sitting on the whāriki. And for all those people on Facebook, ngā mihi kia koutou, ngā mihi rawa nei kia koutou. And and we look at that. You mokopuna, you ask your parents why, and if you were lucky, they would tell you why the nana sits on the whāriki. He mahi whakahirahira ho honua. We forget whānau that manaaki a ariki are human too. We just try not to be a hoha and stay out of the way. Yep. And that Nana's going to get some hugs, a lot of hugs. Shari pihama. Mihira wane kia. Mihira wane kia koutou. I whakapā mai. E he ki te mōhio. Hea te tika. Hea tōna tika. The noho I rungi te whaariki, ne? And be still. You always wondered why that queer sat at the feet of the king and now the queen. You're interested to hear what I have to say, and you will find that it's on the podcast. Is that I spoke to this famous Nana, Nana Mary, Nana Marae, and in her humility she said, no, it's all right. But one of the things I did say to the cousin, I said, you know what? People out there, they recognize what you've been doing. Tō mahi ki te kingita. And I said to her, you know, you've had so many key roles. Noho koe I te taho te ahi, I te tunu kai wa te king. And you know, there's a role in that. And it's not just in Māori, it's in many indigenous ethnic groupings. Is that the person that cooks for the arike or the king or queen or whatever it may be, in their people, their iwi, their tribe, the indigenous groups, they become, there are food tasters. And with this Nana, you know, she had a multiple role, and one of those were to be a food taster. And you'll find that the food taster that tastes the meal before it's given to the ariki is to ensure that it was never poisoned. And that's the negative force field that I'm talking about. Ne? It comes in many forms. And the only thing that keeps that Nana and many more like her strong is because they are ponoa o te kingita. They're believers. They commit to the kingita. So their lives have already been put out there, you know, to make all those sacrifices for the king, for the queen, for the kingita. We think about that particular trait, it's gone right through her family. Her brother Pat is like that. Eh? And we've got our relation from Mataudu. Lollipop, yeah. Wilson, Wirihana. Ngā mokopuna ngā hikatea. Wirihana from our tauhei. That's Tuku Morgan's family out there, our family. But they commit themselves as a mokai, as a hawini, as a slave. And it's not meant slave in that term where you had the South African, the Negroes and the blacks. No, this type of mokai comes with a status, And we think about that. We think about the status of that nohonga whāriki, of that cooking kai and tasting it. It comes with a status. He mana no tōna. Ke mohi ai koutou. He mana no tā te hawini. And too often that we think because they're a slave, and you compare it to the blacks, the Negroes, you know, in Africa, how people are tormented in Australia. Think about all those things. But in this case, this kind of tūranga, he nohonga, it is a position, it is a responsibility that comes with a lot of mana. Yep. And I think, you know, I got to say this about the cousin. She's the most photographed person ever in this tribe. Yeah, because where she sits. And in her humility, that she wants to maintain that whakaititanga, that humble, the humility that she was born with. Nō rene kia koutou katoa e whakaronga kene. You know, koe nei te āhua te tikanga. Te tikanga e koro nei e hi ana koutou. You rangatai out there, you want to know what it means, what it's about. Yeah? What it's all about. We think about that. We think about the whole Koorero, and where the Koorero comes to pass. It comes to pass that, we think about, and I'm saying this with regards, with regards to roles and responsibility. Yeah. And we look at in these Koorero, te puku o te Koorero, ne? That what makes up you got a, for a mihi or a whai kōrero, you got a top and tail. But in the middle is the knuckle, right? That is the knuckle or the key or the flesh to all things. And so we think about tēnei, I whānau mai koe, mate ki ngitau, ko oku o ki nei, tō tina. Born to serve the king in life and in death. I mahi koe, I ngā mahi katoa I runga I tō marae o te kingitanga. You fulfilled your work in every possible way that you could on your marae for the kingitanga. That's inclusive of not just marae, but marae right across the spectrum of the kingitanga. Your hands touched every possible work there was to do on your marae. Ko oku oki totina na wairua takoto e te whanu. So when we look at this, today we leave you with all these treasures, all these measurable treasures that you can actually go out there and measure, its value. And when you measure it, you think about this. When you finally put to rest, and people will never forget what you left behind because you made the attempt to leave it behind. You didn't go empty-handed. And I aim to make sure that you're not left empty-handed when I go. It'll be there on record. It'll be there in the archives for you to pull on, for you to empower yourself and use our kōrero as a guideline. Yeah. We also say, iu koe ki ngā wachi I waiho mai, e tō tupuna, mo te manaki I te tangata. We held fast and maintained its guide to look after the people. I mahi kaha koe ki te hāpai I ngā tāngata o te kingitanga. You worked unconditionally to uplift the principles of the kingitanga. What I'm saying here is I'm actually empowering you to think about, the legacies that you will leave for the kingitanga. You leave for the apopotanga, the generations of tomorrow. And I put it out there to all the parents. There's a lot of us that we're all the same age now. But what have you left? You can leave hugs and cuddles. And it'll come a day when the hugs and cuddles, they won't feel the warmth of it anymore. And all they've got is your kōrero that you leave behind. I eke koe ki ngā taumata manaki te iwi katoa. And that you exceeded the epitome of manaki tanga, caring to look after the people. Many more instances, examples that can be utilized. And we talk about birthdays and stuff like that, Ko eke nei koe ki te taumata I mihi koana. Kia. And we talk about these 21 years, 30 years, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80. Yeah. How many people in this tribe that we've got that's reached 90 years? Not too many. There's Fred Graham, the artist, international artist of Ngāti Kahukura, Koroki Kahukura, who was raised in Mercer. We got people like Pat Kingy, Pat is still there. He's been able to share his history. And we think about all those people well over, and plenty of women there are, and we think about how we can say thank you to them. We say thank you to them. Tēnā koe te mōre hua te ao kōhat. O roto I te rautau o tō rā whānau I tēnei rā te mihi aroha ki au. Yeah. Salutations to you on a 100 years. the survivor of the old world, greetings of the highest esteem. Yeah, we don't have too many of those people left. They're all gone. All gone. Those who are fortunate enough to live beyond 95, 100, your lifestyle obviously was very, very much, you were protected. Unfortunately, the likes of us, the Kaumata, have gone well before me, is that they've been burnt to the point of exhaustion because of their belief in being there for the kingita. Ne? And, when they become sick, and what happens? Then they come up to him. Yeah. What comes to pass after that? What happens? Ko te tumanako kia puta te hua pai, po te iwi iroti ngō kōrero ko waihut nei e koe ki te aone. A te mutunga o te hui, nā te hui e whakanui ia koe, nā, ka kitea te hua ngō kaupapa ko waihutia e koe. So there's so much to recognize with our people, eh? Yeah? And telling our people, we have to finish the work, we've got to do it now. Don't leave all this kōrero for later on. Too late. Me oti ia tātou I ngā mahi, ki te mahi ngā mahi, pēnei nei nei tō. You got to do it now, people. Don't sit and wait, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow may never come. And we think about that. Haere mahi to mahi, nei nei tō. Go and do the work now. So if tomorrow never comes, you left it behind. Yeah? And that song always reminds me of that song. And it's very sad, the words. The words are very sad. But the reality of those words was Ronan Keaton, I think is his name. His name is, and we think about that. And I want to talk about that because, we think about these words. And we'll play this song afterwards. And, and it says the words, Lia Salonga. It's a song that can be for everybody since its message is about how a person experiences life in the most difficult situation, yet still trying to move on and continue to dream and live with its dream, make it come real. And here's the lyrics. The years have come and the years have gone. Still the Son of Man keeps trotting on. Journey on. Yet from innocence to experience, from dependence to independence, journey on. Now I have loved and I've been loved. I've judged and I have been judged. And that's true. When you look at my life cycle, yeah, those who've loved me dearly, my mother, she's gone. And I've been judged. I've died 1,000 deaths. I'm still here, and then you continue to judge me. So my journey continues on. So where there's a storm, there's victory. Because all I am, all, and all that lives in me. Journey on. I never get weary. I was captured on the banks of the river Nile, carried far beyond the 7 seas. Journey on. So, I leave my home in the mornings and I want to go home in the evenings. I never get weary. Journey on. Like the sun and sea, life is flowing free. I've got to be freed. Journey on. So from the lessons learned, the tables turned. The victories earned, and my heart still yearns. Journey on. Great words. Absolutely great words, And you think about that. You think about In the words of a song, it says so much. Ne? And if we think about that, we think about those words from Jimmy Cliff's song, is that, hey, if tomorrow never comes. And now I'm not being depressing, I'm being real. Because if tomorrow never comes, what'll happen? So, that song itself, I wrote Māori to these. Titiro kawana, ka rere ngā whakaro ki tai. Ka oho te wairua ka mauru te manau. E au e. Kia ohia te ngākau, kia rongohia, tōku aroha mō. Kua taumatahia, I roti I te wairua o te mata. Kia matara te iwi, kia pakaria I tātou. Ko te ohia o te ngākau I nai nei, kua rongohia te ao. Kua riro koe ki pairau, mai me mau koe ki ngā kōrero. Ka waituhingia koe e ki tō manawa taku moko. Hei whakamahana I te wairua te whānau e noho ake nei. Kia kore pō reirewa kai ngākau I te manawa. Kia tuhingia ki te rangi, te ia o tōku aroha mau. Kia mau ki taku reo, hei kahukura mau, e taku moko punai. You see, in those words it says so much. Ronan Keaton said, sometimes late at night, I lie awake and watch you sleeping. You're lost in peaceful dreams, so I turn out the lights and lay there in the dark. And the thought crosses my mind. Would you ever doubt the way I feel about you in my heart if tomorrow never comes? Well, you know how much I always said I love you dearly. That I try in every way to show you that I care and all that I believe in is you. My time on earth we're through. You must face this world without me. For if the love I've given you in the past is going to be enough to last, if tomorrow never comes. What's in a word? What's in a song? We sing it all the time. We sing the Waiata Mōtete. We sing the Ngaho songs. We sing all these songs, classics. We sing it all. And do you understand the meaning of those words? Why they were written? Why? So it comes to pass that just by listening to the Pākehā words of a song that I utilize and I put Māori words to it, it has true meaning. It means something more to me now. So I'm saying out there to all of you, when you consider the roles of people in prestigious positions like sitting on a whāriki, sitting on a mat, the impact on the body of that person, the mind, the soul, and all those things. But think about it. Tika. So now, after this show, podcast, will tika have a different meaning for you? Will it? Will you be able to understand the tika that I talked about? That your tika that you apply when you go to a Poukai is to be humble and to be, learn it. It's a learn it classroom. It's a space that you can put yourself in if you want to learn. But if you can't be bothered, you just go there as a day tripper, well, I tell you what, you're probably the first on my hit list. Simply because there is an expected behavior. There's an expected dress code. There's an expected contribution from you, albeit Waiata Mōtete or Waiata Kinaki or even your koa at the at the door before going in for kai. There is an expectation from all of us on behalf of each and every one of us. You know, will you live your life with regret that you didn't listen to Auntie? Will you continue to say, oh, I don't need to be told that. I know how to do it. Oh, yeah, all right. That's fine. You know, but the reality is that, will you know how to do it? Will it be sustainable? Can you measure it? Can you measure it? Can you measure your knowing how to do it? How do you do it? What do you do to make it effective? Can you apply humility to your role? Or are you the be-all, end-all to all things? Nobody can tell you anything. You know, I've seen a few people in this tribe. And a load of bloody bullshit. You know, I've seen the way they behave. And one, you can't shut it down because it's got a blimmin' mouth on it when it sings. God, it's not as if you're the only one. I love listening to the balance, not to one person singing over everybody else. It just doesn't sit right with me. It doesn't. So, with regards to that, and I think about this, and I think it's a nice time to be able to find those songs and play those songs, because I think any one of them will be good, so that you can hear and listen to the words. It's not just a tune anymore, it's got a meaning. Because I've provided you with that meaning for that noho whāriki, for that karanga whakaeke marae, first karanga, a response, and your karanga for your kai. Who goes first? Well, naturally the queen and her party go first. Then you got the motu, and then behind them you got the poukaru, all those who have lost their dear ones over the last few days, weeks. Then you got the iwi behind. And the last ones to come up is stand, because they'll go around to the flagpole and they'll play a tune there, a hymn, and a kariki, a small kariki will happen, and the karanga whakatau will come after that, and you're invited to take your seats under the maki or wherever, and the speech making will continue.